So reading update, I thought I would try to do a vlog. We'll see how well I have failed at all of them so far, so we'll see how well I do. I was going to do a vlog on reading Ruth Ware books because I've never read any of her books before. That's the dog, one of them. I had only read up till now a short story of hers, Snowflakes, on Amazon KU. And it was really good. I really enjoyed that. I'll put a picture of it here. I really enjoyed that short story. So then I picked up, again, I'll put it here because I don't have the physical book. Dogs. If you hear some munching on some things, he just brought in a nut from outside. I don't know what kind of nuts those are from that tree, but yeah, he brought one in. Anyway, he can't eat it. It's just the shell, so he just munches on it. So if you can hear him biting on things, that's what it is. Anyway, so then I picked up One Perfect Couple by her as well, and I only got it on the audio. Let me double check my rating on Goodreads. And I listened to it last week, I think, a week or two ago. I looked for it at my library, but they did not have it. I gave it 3 stars. So I gave One Perfect Couple 3 stars. And it's, it was okay. The mystery of it was pretty good. The ending was just not all that marvelous. Like, I don't know. It was just okay. And it had a lot of kind of, and then there were none vibes, but also Lord of the Flies, and I can't stand that book. That's when I know a lot of people love it. I feel like it's divided. You either love it or you hate it. I really didn't like it. Never have, never will. It's not for me. So I decided, I picked this book up at the library. I have it on audio through Libby. And I decided to get the physical copy and read it together. I just started it today. I'm about 25% in, as you can tell. And Jack Cross and her husband Gabe are the best security penetration specialists in the business, hired by companies to test the strengths and weaknesses of their system. Jack handles the physical break-ins while Gabe tackles the digital aspects. They make an excellent team outside work too. But after a routine assignment goes horribly wrong, Jack arrives home to find her husband dead. To add to her horror, the police are closing in on their only suspect, her. And that's just the first little paragraph. And it's, as I said, it's good. And we'll see how I get on with it. It's good so far. I really like it. I'm liking it better than One Perfect Couple. This is more me, I think. There is some language in it. There was some language in One Perfect Couple as well. That's really only it. There was no spicy scenes in either one, and so I like that. And I shall keep you updated. So, let's read, shall we? Okay, reading update. I don't think I've updated this vlog since 0 days, maybe. So I don't think I've updated this since I read 0 days, and that was a couple of weeks ago now. So I started, so since then, the other night I read The Woman in Cabin 10, and it was really good. I'll give more thoughts on that in the next update. But I didn't film that one because I ended up reading it one night because I couldn't sleep. So I just got up and I was like, well, I'll read my book. You should never read a thriller book or a mystery, something that's going to grab your attention when you're trying to get sleepy to go to bed. So I ended up just reading the whole thing that night. So then I picked up The Lying Game. So, and this one is pretty good so far. I am very close to done. I'm on page 310 of 368. So I got 58 more pages. And so, I think I figured out what's going on, actually. Like, I think I figured out the mystery of it some time ago. So, for anybody who doesn't know, this is about, so it opens up with a lady finding a bone or a body part on a beach in England. And then it jumps to these girls getting a text that one of their friends needs them, so they rush to her side, and it's all connected to these 4 girls. I say girls, they're all adults now, but they went to a school in that same town in England, a boarding school for girls, and hang on, the dog needs to get situated. All right, come on, lay down. Okay. And they were expelled in going into their 6th year. And from that boarding school because of some incident. And as it goes on, you learn that her dad had committed suicide, and the girl that reached out for help, she lives in that same town, and her dad was a teacher at the school, and it was him that had committed suicide right before or right around the same time that they were expelled. So if suicide is not something you want to read about, don't read about this book. It doesn't go into depth about things, but it is talked about a little, like it's mentioned, and that's the premise of her father's supposed death or whatever. So be warned of that. And then, so this next part will be spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers for The Lying Game, which came out, so anybody who has wanted to read this book probably has, because it's been out a while, 2017. So, but I will wait, and you can skip to the next part if you don't want spoilers. So, I think I figured out what the mystery is to this one. So, this body shows up, and you learn that after her dad's suicide, the girls panicked, basically, because the girl's mom had passed away already, and so it was just her and her dad, and then they called him a stepbrother, but he's not actually like a legal guardian for this boy. But so the dad's ex-girlfriend's son lives with him because his home life, his mom is abusive and it's real bad, and her boyfriends are real abusive, so he lives with Ambrose is the dad's name, so he lives there. And so you learn about all that stuff. So when they panic and the girls are like, what are we going to do if he turns up dead? Then she's going to have to go into foster care and all this stuff. And I don't like that premise because, and maybe it's because I'm always been a rule follower, and maybe it's because I've never had that threat over me, I don't know, but that's not my first jump to, if I were to find somebody my dad, if I were in that same situation. It wouldn't be my first jump to. They decide that they need to bury his body and pass it off as a disappearance. And that just seems weird to me. So they've been keeping this secret this whole time. So the lying game is something that they would do in school, and they would lie to different students and teachers and just whoever. And if they could tell a convincing enough lie that the person that they're lying to, then they would accumulate so many points. And it was just a game within themselves, but it got out of hand. And then, so now they've been telling this lie about what happened to her dad all these years, and they're living with the guilt of that lie. And so his body is found, and she wants them back for moral support, and so she can tell them in person, because she didn't want to email that or text that, And so it's just weird to me. Like I said, I just don't, that's just weird. I just can't wrap my mind around that. So far this is like a 3-star, because I don't like that premise. I like the mystery of it. I really enjoy the way Ruth Ware writes. I really thoroughly enjoyed her writing. It's very bingeable. But I don't like the premise of that. And then, so I think I know what's going to happen. And I think I have known since they tell you about his suicide and they tell you what's in the note. Because to me, the note is just not what would be typical of a suicide note. So, or what you would think would be typical, It sounds a little fishy. So I think that the ending is going to be his daughter either had a relationship with her not stepbrother, or had a crush on him and made a move, and he turned her down, and she acted out. And I think the dad was going to send her away to a boarding school, and she didn't want that, and she acted out. And I don't know if, I'm afraid she killed him. So we'll see what happens. Okay, I finished the lying game the other day, and I think I gave it 3 stars. If you can hear water running, it's our fish tanks. Yeah, 3 stars. And I think I was half right with the ending. And I just didn't like the way it ended. That's kind of the long and the short of it. Overall, it was a good story. I liked it. It was intriguing, kept me interested the whole time. It wasn't anything too outlandish, so it was pretty good. Then I picked up In a Dark, Dark Wood. Didn't film myself reading that at all. I just listened to it on my Libby app. I gave it 3 stars as well, because there was some content in it that I didn't like. There was a lot of drugs in it. So, A Dark Wood, a girl gets invited to a bachelorette party, or they call it a hen party, um, in England, and a friend that she has lost contact with, and randomly she gets invited to her bachelorette weekend or whatever, and so they're in a house. It's got a lot of windows, so like a glass house in the middle of nowhere in November. And then things just start getting creepy and weird and that kind of thing. And I didn't like the drugs part of it, but I didn't like the motive behind it. But it made sense, and the way she brought it together flowed, and I didn't guess right away who the murderer was in this one. She did have me deceived until pretty close to the end, and so overall it was pretty good. As I said, it was a good time, and I read it straight through, so it was enjoyable. I enjoyed it. So 3 stars. Next, I'm on to The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This one I don't know anything about. This is the one that has blurbs on the back and not a synopsis. So I have no idea what I'm getting into. And we'll just see how it goes. I have it on Libby. And so I'm going to listen to it and read it. And I have a little while. It's Sunday, the day that I'm filming this, and it's the afternoon. So I have about an hour and a half-ish before I need to get ready for night church. So I'm going to read this and sit here with the puppies, and we're going to read. Okay, I'm down to the last 3 Ruth Ware books, and I am 75% through 2 of them. So the first one is The It Girl, and I said I'm 75% through this one. I own this one, and I own the Audible, and so I set it aside because I have other ones due back to the library. So I'll finish this one after I finish the other one that needs to be returned to the library. This one is really good so far, but it's too reminiscent of other books that's kind of like it. Her writing style is still very gripping, and so her books for me have been hard to put down and set aside, so that's always a good thing. There is a lot of language in them, and like drug use and alcohol use, and then the other one that I have that needs to be returned to the library is One by One by Ruth Ware, and I like this one a lot. There is language and some alcohol use, but this one is about a tech company that has an app, and they go on a trip to in the middle of nowhere in the Alps in this little cabin. Well, it's not really a little cabin. It's a nice chalet, but there's 10 of them there, and the company is discussing a buyout, which means that some people will make a lot of money, and one of the owners wants to stick it out. He wants to continue with his company. So they're dealing with that, and then stuff starts happening. So This one, along with 0 Days, have been my favorite so far. I'm really liking this one a lot. As I said, I'm about 75% through this one. So I'm going to keep reading this one because it needs, the audiobook will go back to the library today. So I want to finish it this morning and get it done. And then we'll work on the It Girl. And then I have another book due back to the library. That's not Ruth Ware. And then the last book I have left of hers is The Death of Miss Westaway. So that'll be good. I don't know anything about it. I haven't read any of the synopses on any of these books, like always. So I'm going to keep reading this one, and we'll finish it, and I'll let you know what I think. Thought that it was going to be the boyfriend, and so now they're throwing in a plot twist, and I'm not sure anymore, and so now I'm stressed out. So we'll see. If you hear water running, my laundry's going. I'm on Wendy's Sprints, and I'm listening to The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. This is the last book of hers, and then I have read her to zero. I'm at 40%, and it's pretty good so far. It's kind of, it's a mixture of things. Like, it kind of reminds me of, I forget the book that I was thinking about, but basically this lady dies, and she gets a letter from the girl that we're following, our main character. She gets a letter from a lawyer saying that her grandmother has died and she's been left in a substantial inheritance, and that would be really helpful for her right now because she is destitute. Basically, she doesn't have any money. She runs a shop on the boardwalk where she does like tarot readings and that kind of stuff, and she's just barely making her rent and barely having enough money for food and that kind of stuff. Her mom passed away several years ago, so she's all on her own. So far, I'm enjoying it. It's a bit slow, but I'm intrigued enough to continue. And I listen at 2.5 times speed, so I have less than 4 hours left of the audiobook. But the tarot thing is throwing me off just because that's not my particular belief. It hasn't went into any severe details, but it like she does do a reading. So if tarot is not your thing, then you're not going to want to read this book. But that was early on, and she's talked about tarot a lot in the first few chapters. I'm on chapter 18. And then another thing is there is some snippets of like a journal entry, and if I were reading it physically, I only have the audiobook because my library didn't have the physical book, and I wanted to listen to this book so I could get my vlog out. Stop. There's Chip. So I'm listening to it, but so it wouldn't be so off. I don't want to say off-putting, but there's not like a clear distinction of when it switches to that. You just get a date and then somebody writing in a journal entry. So it doesn't throw me off too bad, but I know some people don't like dual timelines like that. And this would be one where if you're not a fan of that, or you're just listening to the audio and that kind of stuff throws you off, to be aware of it going in. So if that kind of stuff isn't your thing, you may want the physical book at least to read alongside of it. So, but anyway, so far it's good. There is a little bit of language, but it's nothing bad so far. And yeah, so far it's been good. And as I said, I'm intrigued enough to continue. So I'm going to listen, and I'm on Wendy's Sprints. Today's Thursday, so she's doing live sprints. She's going to come back in a few minutes and talk to us, and it'll be her. This is the last one, so then she's done. So then it's just, laundry and dishes and that kind of stuff. So I'll come back and update you when I'm got more information to share. And anyway, so... Okay, forgive the glare on my glasses, but I did not feel like putting my contacts in. And I wanted to wrap up this vlog for Ruth Ware. So I read all of the Ruth Ware books with the exception of the short story, which I read in January. The rest of them I read between September and November. And I think I'll go in the order that I'll tell you the 3 stars and then the 4 stars. None of them were a 5-star read for me. So the first 3-star was One Perfect Couple. That's the one that's like Survivor meets The Lord of the Flies. um, and it's kind of also, and then there were nun vibes. So it was good. It kept me interested. There was some language and there was some content in it that I didn't like. Um, there was, I don't think there was any like drug use on there. There was some drinking, but I don't think there was any drug use. There is queer representation in this one of the couples. And I just didn't like how this book finished up overall. And like I said, I don't like The Lord of the Flies. I didn't like that book as a teenager when I had to read it for school. I don't like it now. That'll never change. So it was a 3-star book. It was still a good time. It was just not the best thing ever. Next, the next 3-star read was The Lying Game. And I didn't like the ending on this one either. And I didn't like the premise, the why the murder happened, and so it just felt a little short for me, but I did enjoy the overall story. It was very unputdownable, as most of her books have been for me. I just really enjoy the way she writes. There is some language. I just didn't like the way this one ended up overall, and the premise of why the murder happened and the mystery, even though it was a good time getting to it, you know. In a Dark, Dark Wood was the next 3-star. Again, it was unputdownable. I read it really quickly. But there was a lot of language in it. There was a lot of drinking and drugs. And there was some queer representation in it. And there was just some meanness in it. Maybe Mean Girl vibes. I don't know. There was just some maliciousness on part of the people who are supposed to be friends that I just don't enjoy that. And maybe that's real life and I just don't have them kind of people in my life. I don't know, but I just didn't enjoy that part of it. And then I didn't like the reason behind the murder. Like that, the overall mystery was good. The trip, the journey we took to get there was good, but I didn't like the why this person was murdered kind of thing. So the next 3-star for me was The Death of Mrs. Westaway. Again, I really enjoyed this book. And this girl, I think I gave synopsis on most of them in it, but she stands to inherit. She gets a letter one day that her grandmother passed away, and she doesn't think that this is her grandmother, even though they share the same name, but she doesn't think they're related. But she's going to take the money anyway because she's destitute. So she shows up at this and things start happening. And so I overall enjoyed it. Again, this one was slightly slower than the other ones, I feel like. But it was still a good time. There is some language in it. This one, she reads tarot. And so if that's not something you want to read about, then you're not going to want to read this book. But that is a component to this story, so know that going in. So there was just a little bit of content that I didn't like, and so it's 3 stars. Other than that, the story was good. You know, I enjoyed the overall mystery of it. So then the next one, those are all the 3 stars. So the 3 stars for me, she's split right down the middle here. 4 of them were 3 stars. One Perfect Couple, The Lying Game, In a Dark, Dark Wood, and The Death of Mrs. Westaway. And then the rest of them were 4 stars. So 5 of them were 4 stars. So One by One is the one where it's a tech company and they have an app. I'll try to remember to put the covers here. And so they're away on a skiing trip, and I enjoyed this one immensely. I really like it a lot. The story moved well. There is drinking. I do believe there's drugs in it. So, but the story overall was good. I didn't predict the killer, which I really like that. And then, so 4 stars. The next was The Turn of the Key. This one takes place in Scotland, I think, but somewhere remote, and she's a nanny, and creepy things start happening, and so it's really good. This story, the only reason this one is not a 5-star, other than the language, is the ending. I didn't care much for the endings. Me and her endings. If she would just change her endings just a little bit, she could be a 5-star. But I'll still continue to read them. I enjoy her books. So the next 4-star was The It Girl. This one was really good. It was reminiscent of other stories that I have read like this one. I did not predict the killer in this one. This one had a lot of drinking and drugs in it. I was trying to think of what else. And the girl was just mean. She was just mean. The it girl, she was mean. And there's a lot of pranks. I don't like pranks. I never have, never will. And so I guess I'm just not fun enough. I don't know, but I don't like jokes, practical jokes and stuff. And so overall, the actual mystery was good. I didn't predict who done it, which is good. It surprised me. I really thought up until a certain point it was going to be this person, and then it was interesting because I didn't see how she did it. You know what I mean? So I did enjoy that part of it. It made me sad of how it wrapped up. So, and then number 4, the woman in cabin 10. She is a journalist, and she goes on a cruise. It's like a small cruise. There's not very many people on there, and she thinks that she sees somebody murdered, and then she's thinking, did I really? Or, and everybody's trying to convince her that she didn't see nothing, So it's really good. It flowed really quickly. There was drinking, there was drugs, just the same of all of them, And then the last one, 0 Days, the security one. I think 0 Days is probably my favorite. It's a 4-star. I think that one's probably my favorite. Then 1 by 1. Then Turn of the Key. Then A Woman in Cabin 10. And then The It Girl. And then the other ones were all just okay. They were 3 stars. So she's always a good time writer for me. I'll probably always pick up her books because I do enjoy them. And they keep me wrapped up, and they're very bingeable, and I want to read them all at once, and so I think I'll always continue to read her books, but they're never like a clean read, so there's always going to be content in it that I don't love, like the language or the drugs and drinking or the mean girl aspect. There's always going to be something in them that I'm just not keen on, which for any worldly secular book, that's going to be an issue, I think. Like I say, most of them had queer representation in them. They're usually side characters, and there's not any graphic details on page or anything like that for them or any other sexual content. That was never an issue, so that part of it was fine. Just the language was heavy, and the drug and alcohol abuse is pretty common in most of them. So, but they're mysteries, they're worldly. You're going to have that content. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. And we'll see what I vlog next. So if you guys have stayed tuned and watched the whole vlog, please leave the little detective emoji in the comments below if you have nothing else to talk about. Or if you want to talk about any of these books. If you've read them and you disagreed with me on anything, please let's talk about it in the comments. And I'll see you guys next time.